How important is X to you in a relationship? Could you be with someone you love even if X was off the table indefinitely? There's no right answer. Just make sure you're with someone who is on the same page. My wife and I both have a low X drive. Hers has always been low, and I was abused when I was younger, which affects mine. Sometimes we go months without it and neither of us are worried. Sometimes we go through a phase where we do it all the time. It totally just depends on how active we are in life, how stressed we are, how tired we are, or if we're in different moods. But neither of us are bothered when our drives are low. Our intimacy drive is super high. We are always together, and it's weird when we're apart. We always kiss, cuddle, hug, play grab, shower together, etc. Just spending time together and sharing with each other the rest of the world doesn't get to see or understand about us is incredibly intimate. Being 100% comfortable in yourself around someone, and vice versa, is the ultimate form of love and intimacy. X is just a bonus. I feel like if I loved them and there was no actual intimacy, then we're basically just best friends. Edit. To answer the same comments I get every 2 minutes. This is my personal view, and I get other people may think differently. I know what actual and aromantic means. If I were married and something happened where my spouse couldn't have X, I obviously wouldn't leave her just because of that. I know X and intimacy aren't the same thing, which is why I specifically said sexual intimacy. No, I'm not in a relationship just for sex. I understand so can be your best friend. That's how my situation is, but that's obviously not what I meant. I agree that sex isn't the most important part of our relationship, but that doesn't mean it's unimportant. It's very important. But I wouldn't leave my wife if she became physically unable to have X. It would suck, and I won't lie and say I wouldn't resent the situation. But if there is a lifelong commitment there, and everything else in the relationship is still good, I'd try and tough it out. Edit. I haven't had this many upvotes since the uprising in 2020. When I met my wife, we couldn't keep our hands off each other. This lasted a few years. I was in my mid-20s when we married. She developed a chronic medical issue. I've gone 20 years being actually frustrated. There are vestiges and phases to this. What I came to realize is that I love my wife. Yes, X is important in our relationship. But I would rather have her in my life with no X than have X without her. The thing is, I love her. She can't help her situation. I can't help it. One deals with it. Marriage is more than X. It is building a life and memories, raising a family, and loving each other regardless of the challenges life throws our way. But sex is very important. It helps keep the closeness and the emotional bond. But it isn't the only thing does that. Why would be a big factor in this. When my wife of 30+ years became too ill for X to be even remotely interesting for her, I certainly did not end the relationship. I loved her and I took care of her until she died. No other course even occurred to me. What annoys the UCK out of you? That nearly all help on the internet these days, fourth topics I'm interested in, are in the form of videos instead of a simple FAQ. We'll use a video game example. If I'm having trouble figuring out how to do something and Google it, I don't get anything written down for how to solve it. I get 13-minute long videos. Speakerphone conversations, TikTok videos on public transport. Trash less than 2 feet from trash can. Cookie-related notifications. Me. That other fucker procrastinates too much, especially by spending time on Reddit. People standing in the way in shops, ucking move. Obnoxiously bright headlights. Drivers who pull out in front of you on the road when they clearly didn't have enough time. When I just put on fresh socks and then step on a drop of water. What's something X education didn't prepare you for? They never taught us about discharge. They went through periods, pregnancy, gender, chromosomes, genitalia, hormones, etc., actuality. But never even mentioned discharge. I thought that there was something wrong with me for years and I was super ashamed of it. Edit. For all those commenting that my parents should have taught me about it. My mother died when I was a little kid and I was raised by a single father who did not receive sex ed. I had no sisters and no women around me when I grew up. So stopblaming my dead mom for this. How to do my taxes. I mean, I am getting ucked. Sometimes, no matter how healthy you are, things can go wrong during a pregnancy. You might have to make difficult decisions when that happens. No one can prepare you for that kind of loss. I don't think our society really understands that pregnancy is still dangerous. X or X-Ed was basically just biology class on the reproductive organs and nothing concerning the event or protection. Edit. OMG. My inbox loudly crying. I'm trying to answer as many as I can, but it's filling up faster than I can answer. Thanks for all the attention, though cold sweat smile. Oral X. That was on the job learning. The emotional aspect. The mess afterwards. Vaginismus. Everything and anything. My ex-ed at school was literally a woman telling us not to do it. Condoms break. The pill doesn't work. You'll get AIDS and die. Far out. Deleted. The cost of raising a child. What isn't like it is in the movies? Car accidents. People don't just lightly bleed from their heads then die. They are some of the goriest, most traumatic deaths I've seen outside of combat footage. In movies they never say goodbye on the phone, they just hang up. Walking into a bar and the news is showing a story about your exact situation. Driving. Unlike in the movies, you really have to pay attention to the road. Parking too. It's very rare to get a space just outside where you need Toby. Getting hit in the head. No John, you won't wake up with a minor headache 10 minutes later, you'll wake up a decade later with a wheelchair. I found the Air Bud series really set unrealistic standards for dogs. Carrying an unconscious person. Found out the hard way when my wife was sick and fainted. An unconscious body is surprisingly limp and slippery. Try to lift them by the armpits? Nope, that just makes the arms flail and they'll slip right through your fingers. Try to lift them from under the knees and around the back? Nope, their back won't stay stiff enough and their SS will just sink to the floor. Not to mention their head is rolling around the whole time. Basically, everything about guns. Drywall and furniture don't stop bullets. Reloading is a thing. Please stop cocking your weapon to look cool. Half of your rounds are on the ground. And so many more. Air conditioning vents silently and easily being removed or put in. What was your "I ucked up" moment? My parents woke me up from my 7th grade sleep, took me to the guest room, and then began to explain what history on the computer was to me. My whole life is a series of "I ucked up" moments with the occasional nap in between. Used to downhill skate pretty regularly. Took my time and had some safe spots away from traffic. Took a tumble once and popped up on my feet, but my right leg crumbled. Looked down and my right foot was doinked 90 to the power of 0 to the left. I done ucked up, was running through my head 100x every second for weeks. Ucked a girl who had a BF. The BF found out. They broke up. They got back together? She texted me? They both want to UCK me? I went to UCK. I got ucked, I ucked up. I decided to scrape out old, stale brownies thawed hardened to the pan with a knife. The thought flicked through my mind a fraction of a second before the knife slipped out of the pan and plunged into the center of my palm. Side note. After that, the knife was always darker where it had been inside my hand. Anyone know why? Another side note. 5 years later, guy broke in my house and tried to kill me with that very same knife. I worked in a commercial kitchen. I had just finished making and plating hundreds of deviled eggs. As I moved them into the walk-in, the cartwheels caught on the lip and sent all of them straight on the floor. Edit. Forgot to mention, this was the first day with the new head chef. I managed to destroy a $4 piece of test equipment by connecting the wrong leads. For the briefest of moments, the screen showed an overvoltage warning. That's when I knew. My first marriage. First day of the honeymoon. We're at a nice sightseeing spot. I take a photo of him in front of a memorial. After taking the photo, I say, "Oh, I think I cut of your feet in that shot." He throws a total fit about it. That's when I realized I ucked up marrying him. I read a manifest wrong and pumped the wrong chemical down an oil well and literally ruined a brand new well worth about $4 million. They had to abandon it. Sleeping with my mom's boyfriend's daughter. Do men still find their wives exy after they give birth? What's the best, worst thing about sex after having kids? The best thing about X after having a kid is that there is less pressure to be able to last long, because you're both exhausted, which ironically, makes it easier to last longer. My hubby has never been able to keep his hands off me, even after I gave birth and felt completely unattractive. On the flip side, my best friend's partner left her 3 days after she gave birth. He was in the room and said watching her give birth completely turned him off her and he can't look at her anymore. Common sense says he was probably looking for an excuse to duck out for a while, especially as he hasn't even seen or contacted their son since he left, but that was a horrible thing for her to hear. My Mrs. Tummy was so soft after birth of our 2 kids, was major turn on every time I touched it. Didn't help she was orny as F the weeks after birth. I still found her very sexy, maybe even more so seeing how great with the kids she was. Months and years afterwards, that is. She passed away, will be 2 years next month. Miss her so much X, thanks for the love everyone, much appreciated X. I'll answer the still sexy part. She is 75 now. Her breasts are near her belly button. Her smile without her dentures is awesome. Watching her totter around her flower bed, with an adaptable cane, with add-on tips for weeding, and poking around in the dirt. Yes, she is still sexy to me. We smile and have an I language system of communication that works better than static-prone hearing aids. After 41 years together, we are still making adjustments daily and showing each other we love one another. The worst thing about having X after delivering a baby? The stares from the medical personnel in the maternity room. In the immediate moments after birth? Sexy was not considered. A couple of weeks later, when there was finally a moment where the child slept and we could look at each other, much more so. A year later, enough to make a younger sibling? 3 kids later, and I swear after each one it gets better and better. And in terms of looks, I continually find my wife more and more attractive. She might say, I have a belly, or my is huge. I just keep reminding her how beautiful and hot she is because she is beautiful and hot.